Good morning to you. It is Saturday, December 17th. I'm Abby Huntsman. First, he brought back Merry Christmas, and this morning the president-elect takes another shot at political correctness.
Remember, some of you that are a little bit older, made in the USA. Remember that beautiful?
We'll take you to Florida, where the latest stop on the thank you tour just wrapped up.
And I bet you didn't see this one coming. While Democrats across America blame Russia for losing the election, President Obama says it's actually kind of Hillary Clinton's fault.
Yo! Whoa. And what happens when you ask bickering Democrats to make a life or death decision? This morning, the deer named Lefty, who captured all of our hearts, is dead.
No.
Killed by the political battle to save its life. Fox and Friends starts right now.
Have a holly jolly Christmas, and when you walk down the street.
All right, so that is Bass Pro Shop for all these last-minute gifts, because remember, it's Christmas next week.
It is.
Did you guys know that?
I've kind of forgotten I have to do all my shopping still.
Well, that's the beauty of having Bass Pro Shops here, because they're going to show us some of those last-minute gift ideas. They've decked out our whole plaza, and that's real snow this
I was
time.
gonna say that.
That's
It
not
is.
fake snow. Look at this outside.
They've
Holy
had to
smokes.
shovel 3 times already, the plaza, so I'm told.
It's getting out of hand.
I didn't help any of those.
You just watched while you were
watched.
sipping coffee?
Yep. Latte sipping, watching
That's
people
not
shovel
nice,
for
Pete.
me. I shovel enough. I've filled my shovel quota in my life in Minnesota.
Yeah, that's true.
I let others do it whenever
By
possible.
the way, I mean, it looks so festive outside, and we wanted to send, my favorite time of year, when I can dust off the ugly Christmas sweater. I've got a whole wardrobe full of them, and this morning we want you to send in your ugly Christmas sweater photos. We're going to be trying on some a little bit later in the show to see how well they fit.
I love
a little
ugly
fashion show.
Christmas sweaters.
You ready for it?
Like the bells. We were talking about edible Christmas sweaters the
There
other
was
day.
one year where I actually there was an edible Christmas sweater. So you're able to eat like marshmallows off of it and s'mores.
Okay.
If you can combine 2 things, food and a
things that you
sweater,
love.
into one.
How long is that
See if you
sweater
can top that,
last?
America.
Yeah. We're going to try this morning.
All right, let's talk some politics this morning. The president, it seems like every year right before he goes on a big, 17-day vacation to Hawaii, sort of does a post-mortem of the year, looking back at this year in his administration. And it was a rough year for Democrats, a really rough year. But though he walked an interesting line in his assessment of what happened this year, blaming both Russia, but also a little bit of Hillary Clinton for these problems. Listen.
Based on uniform intelligence assessments, the Russians were responsible for hacking the DNC. I can assure the public that there was not the kind of tampering with the voting process that was a concern. The votes that were cast were counted. They were counted appropriately. Our goal continues to be to send a clear message to Russia or others not to do this to us, because we can do stuff to you. The thing we have to spend the most time on, because it's the thing we have the most control over, is how do we make sure that we are showing up in places where I think democratic policies are needed, where people feel as if they're not being heard, and where Democrats are characterized as coastal, liberal, latte-sipping, politically correct, out-of-touch folks. We have to be in those communities.
Interesting.
It was so interesting to hear President Obama talk about it in that tone, saying, we've got to move away from this liberal latte sipping tone of ours because we're not connecting with the people that need our help, in his words, the most. And that's exactly the message that I've heard when I'm out talking to many of the Democrats that ended up voting for Mr. Trump, is that we're sick of talk and no action here. And when it came to Hillary Clinton, she was not inspiring enough. She didn't give us a reason to want to go out and vote for her. Let's put the Russians aside for a minute and talk about what actually impacted this election the most.
Yeah, so and what if you have become latte-sipping, coastal, liberal, politically correct, out-of-touch folks, which so many of them have been? You can say that's what we've become, and we need to go there and present a different message. But what's the new message they're going to present, especially when you need to learn from elections? And so far, they're still pointing at the Russians. He alluded a little bit to Hillary Clinton and being better about reaching certain constituencies. But when you're still talking about hacking or tampering, as opposed to doing a post-mortem on what you failed to do, it's pretty tough to move forward.
Well, listen to those teeth, though. If you're going to do something else, we're going to do something to you. It's like kids on a playground, like Nanny nanny, you know, like I'm going to poke you, we're going to poke you back. But I mean, this is serious stuff. But I was
talking Vladimir Putin.
Right. That was interesting, though, when he was talking about the Russians. It's like, if you unpack that a little bit, what is he saying? He was like, well, the votes were fine. We actually tallied everything up, and there was no tampering there. So what is he saying? He was actually talking about fake news, that is actually more nefarious somehow than actually, you know, hacking into databases.
Because we've been getting nothing but straight news for years now, right? Just playing it straight right down the middle from the New York Times.
Exactly, absolutely.
And he wouldn't have anything to contribute to the problem at all.
And they totally predicted the election outcome, which was just fabulous. But he did point to that, saying that it is our partisanship, as you said, mainly in the media, that is to blame for what Russia's doing. Here's what he said about that.
Our vulnerability to Russia or any other foreign power is directly related to how divided, partisan, dysfunctional our political process is. If fake news that's being released by some foreign government is almost identical to reports that are being issued through partisan news venues, then it's not surprising that that foreign propaganda will have a greater effect, because it doesn't seem that far-fetched compared to some of the other stuff that folks are hearing from domestic propagandists.
So foreign governments planting fake news in an effort to undermine the election.
No, he's saying Russia. Okay, that's who he's alluding to.
Right.
All these news stories and all these alt-right conservative sites that have all these shady stories. People just believed it and they voted that way. Never once in 90 minutes did he look in the camera and take any credit or take any responsibility for the fact that America is a pretty divided country. Maybe it's his policies. Maybe when you ram Obamacare down people's throat with only Democratic votes and it doesn't work, maybe that contributes to the divide as well. When you set red lines and you don't enforce them, when you have terrible policies, people don't like it and they react to it.
Right.
That's a great point.
So meanwhile, you heard that tone yesterday from the White House. You hear the clicking of cameras, and then you hear the crowds and the ebullience down in Florida, where Trump and Pence took to Florida on part of their thank you tour, because, you know, the I-4 corridor, that was where all eyes were, that I-4 corridor through Orlando.
No, I've done that. I remember when my dad was running 4 years ago. I lived in Florida, and it's an important area. And I know so he was in Orlando last night, and thanking Florida. That was obviously such an important state for him to win.
Huge, and it's not the Merry Christmas tour.
No, it is the American tour, but also he's part of the reason so many people appreciated Mr. Trump at this point in history was the fact that he pointed directly to political correctness and how he's anything but, and he's continuing to point fingers at the media, and he also was talking about Times Person of the Year. He is Times Person this year.
I saw
saying,
this live
let's just
last
call
night,
it the Man Person of the Year or the Woman Person of the Year. Here's what he said last night.
Time Magazine and the Financial Times, big deal, just gave me Person of the Year. Person. Okay. They should give it to you because this is a movement, folks. This isn't me. So in the past, it was called Man of the Year. Now it's called Person of the Year. So here's the question. What do you like better? Ready? Do you like Person of the Year? Do you like Man of the Year? Well, they want to be politically correct.
That is
That's hysterical.
But I guarantee you, he's still going to have it framed and put on his office wall at Trump Tower.
It's probably already there.
I'm sure it is.
Already there. You know what,
As
Bill?
it should be.
When you hear him talk like that at these rallies, it reminds you of why many people during the campaign connected to him. He makes them feel like they're his friend. Like he wants their opinion. You know, he tweets out every morning, all day long oftentimes, like he's talking to them, like he's talking to the people. They feel like they are important in some way.
Well, because his other channel is the main, you know, trying to get messages out through the mainstream media, and that hasn't worked very well for him.
He also, he doesn't need the mainstream media at all. He also speaks the way we speak around the table. I remember when I first saw the Time of the Year became Person of the Year, and I was like, that's kind of garbage. Why can't it be man of the year? And if a woman wins, she's the woman of the year. Why do we, you know it's political correctness, and it bleeds through everything. So when Obama stands up there and says, I'm a coastal liberal, you are a latte-sipping, political correct guy. And America wants some toughness and some strength. And guess what? There are men and there are women, and why can't we just say that?
I thought that
And
was
you know,
hilarious.
That's what he's tapping into.
And I gotta say, all this talk about lattes this morning, I really would like one. So
I would like one. Can we get that going this morning?
Yeah, we'll have
Should we
one.
order some
I'll buy you a
lattes?
latte.
Can we sip some lattes this morning?
Peppermint.
Peppermint mocha lattes. I love it. Okay, we do have some other
Thank you.
headlines. Is that a latte?
Yeah,
That
delicious.
was so nice of you. Made it in about
Immediate
3
delivery.
seconds. All right. We do have some other headlines to get to this morning, starting with this. And this was breaking overnight and some sad news. An officer is shot after a traffic stop turns deadly. The scene unfolding in a Walmart parking lot in Dallas, Oregon. Officials are saying 3 officers pulled over the suspect on suspicion of a DUI. The suspect then turned his gun on an officer, shooting him in the leg. He was rushed to the hospital where he's now recovering this morning. State police say the suspect was shot and died on the scene there. And the Obamas landing in Hawaii just a short time ago for their last vacation as the first family. President Obama holding Malia's hand as they walk down the steps of Air Force One. You can see them right there with Sasha and Mrs. Obama close behind. The first family visits Hawaii for Christmas vacation every year, vacationing on the island where the president grew up, and they will be there for the next 17 days. Then there's this, a Christmas wreath for heroes who paid the ultimate price thanks to generous viewers just like you. Today, Wreaths Across America will place a Christmas wreath on every headstone in Arlington National Cemetery. That is more than 400,000 graves. The group appearing on our show last night to ask for donations, and our viewers responded.
With a grateful heart, we are very excited to announce that we have received enough donations for every veteran's grave at Arlington National Cemetery to receive a wreath this year.
Besides Arlington, 1.2 million wreaths will be put on veterans' graves nationwide. I love that. And the greatest secret Santa ever, Virginia Marine, just back from deployment, dressing up as the jolly old elf to surprise his son at school.
I want an Xbox One for Christmas.
Did you want anything else for Christmas?
I also want my dad
You want your dad?
Yeah.
Why would you want your dad? Where's your dad then?
in Kuwait
Why is he in Kuwait?
because the army told him to.
Have a bit of Christmas magic for you.
Okay.
Hi, Jackson.
Hi, Dad.
That is the sweetest video
Let's do like the
I've seen in a long
mannequin
time.
challenge for a second.
What a Christmas miracle that is. His face says it all.
Oh my goodness,
That's
yeah.
adorable. I love that.
Well done.
All right. Well, coming up here on the show, electors getting death threats ahead of Monday's vote for President-elect Trump. Even celebrities want them to vote their conscience.
As you know, our founding fathers built the Electoral College to safeguard the American people from the dangers of a demagogue.
But one elector refusing to back down. He's going to join us live next.
Those are the coastal liberal latte-sipping politically correct folks, by the way. And what was the mood like inside the Clinton campaign's Christmas party? Well, we'll take you there. I'm sure it was salty.
That's why I'm telling you.
I'm saying I'm taking a conscious decision to consider who I'm voting for. I don't think Donald Trump meets the test to be qualified to be president. I am making a moral choice. I am choosing to examine his qualifications. There are probably other people who may be doing the same thing and coming to a different conclusion, and that's fine. That's why we have an electoral college to cast these votes.
Well, that was Texas elector Christopher Supron on Tucker Carlson's show, vowing to vote against President-elect Trump on Monday. This comes as electors face death threats, and celebrities join many on the left, urging other electors to follow suit and, quote, vote their conscience. But our next guest, Texas elector Rex Teeter, is standing up to the left and rallying behind the president-elect this Monday. He joins us now to explain why he will cast his vote as an elector for Mr. Trump. Sir, thank you for joining us this morning. So you're an elector from Texas. You've made a pledge to vote for Mr. Trump, and you for the winner of that state, who was President-elect Trump. Why are you choosing to do that?
Okay. Good morning, Pete. It's
good morning.
Good to see you this morning.
for one, I made a promise to the folk who selected me in my congressional district. I made a vow to support the Republican nominee, whoever that would be, and in May, whenever I was chosen, I expected that to be Donald Trump. And so in May, I made that decision, and I signed a pledge and made that promise.
Well,
and
Rex, you said you would,
myself
but
a faithful elector.
Well, that means that Christopher, who we just played from that other clip, he took the same pledge as well. He's choosing to ignore it. What do you think of those who are ignoring that pledge?
I feel like they're not doing their job as an elector. We took a promise. We made a promise. We made a pledge. The state of Texas voted pretty overwhelmingly by over 10% for Donald Trump. And I believe per our pledge, per the Constitution, we should support what the state of Texas chose us to do.
Oh,
so I plan to do what Texas chose me to do. And I consider myself a faithful elector.
Well, that pesky Constitution that you're abiding by as well. So you've received 35,000 emails, 200 letters, and not all very nice ones, most from the left trying to tell you to vote your conscience. Here's a few of them we're going to put on the screen. And they're, you know, these are folks being nasty. May your tombstone and life be a laughing fallacy if you let this evil in the gate. Go ahead and vote for your clown. And Mr. Trump has not displayed any characteristics of a good leader, much less someone trustworthy enough to be the most powerful man in the world. Now, you were originally a Marco Rubio supporter, but you're going to obviously, as an elector, vote for Mr. Trump. Did any of that have an effect on you?
Actually, the very first one I received, I kind of felt very threatened. How did anyone find my email? In fact, my number today is like 80,000.
Wow.
I have enough mail to fill up a room, getting videos sent to me, and it's all sorts of things. It's just made me more resolute. I understand some of their concerns. I've been on the losing side of elections myself, and it's not fun to lose. But the will of the American people have spoken, and I intend to do what the will of Texas has done.
Rex, we've only got 10 seconds. Any doubt in your mind that Donald Trump will win the electoral vote?
Not any doubt in my mind. We're going to support him all the way, and he's going to be our next president, January 20th.
And Rex, no doubt in America's mind that is an outstanding shirt. I want one. I know you love your country and your state. Appreciate that.
I'll send one to you.
You got it. Thanks. Rex Teeter, an elector from Texas. All right, President-elect Trump continuing his thank you tour across the country. How is his message resonating with the voters? The brand new dials are here next. And Michelle Obama has an announcement to make. Give up. Hope in America is dead. That's right. She declared it dead.
And welcome back. Some quick headlines for you. A judge says disgraced Army deserter Bowe Bergdahl bears some responsibility for the risky missions used to find him after he abandoned his post. However, prosecutors won't be able to use evidence of serious wounds suffered by other soldiers, including a brain injury. The 5 Gitmo prisoners were traded to get Bowe Bergdahl back in 2014. And the country saying goodbye to hero astronaut John Glenn. Vice President Joe Biden among those expected to attend a memorial service at Ohio State University today. Public viewing of his flag-draped coffin in repose was attended by thousands. The 95-year-old died last week.
Here's what I noticed. 4 weeks ago, just prior to, and always prior to, you people were vicious, violent, screaming. That's right, deplorables. Whatever happened to the deplorables, right? They're not so deplorable. The other side's trying to figure out, well, in 4 years, how do we get some of these deplorables to our side?
That's President-elect Donald Trump continuing his thank you tour across the country in Orlando last night before heading to Mobile, Alabama tonight. But how is his post-election message resonating with Americans? Well, here to break it all down, President and partner at Ms. Lansky and Partners, Lee Carter. Good morning, Lee.
Good morning.
Always good to see you.
Great to be here.
All right, so let's get some of these dials. And first, the one that we continue to hear from him, Buy American, Hire American. Here's what he says about that.
And we're going to put our people back to work in the process. It's time to help get Americans off of welfare and back into the labor market. Rebuilding this country with American hands and with American workers. My administration will follow 2 simple rules. Buy American and hire American, right? We're going to do it.
So you can see there, Republicans and independents both off the charts love this message. A+. Democrats even gave this a C, and I'm really surprised.
Which is pretty much like an A.
It is like an A. All throughout the cycle, we saw Democrats, every time he opened his mouth, could almost go to the floor. I'm really, really encouraged by that they're starting to listen to his message, come around, give him a chance. And so I think this is, he should be focused on this Buy American, Hire American message, America first, make America great again. We all know those messages work and resonate. People are really encouraged by the actions he's taking with carriers, seeing jobs come back. This is something that he needs to stick with, and it's working, and people are getting really excited about.
Well, he's also out there talking about some of his cabinet positions, including the big one, Secretary of State, and Rex Tillerson, someone that many people don't know a whole lot about yet. Here he is talking about him.
Today I announced my plans to nominate Rex Tillerson, right? The Chief Executive Officer and Chairman of ExxonMobil, to be the next Secretary of State. Rex is one of the greatest and most skilled global business leaders of our time. Made some of the greatest deals ever made in the oil industry or any industry. A great diplomat, a strong man, a tough man.
What's going on here?
So you can see there, Republicans, the red line, gave this a B+, independents a C, Democrats an F. Part of the problem here, and when we got, into it with voters, why are they reacting this way, is they don't know who Rex Tillerson is. They have no idea who he is. This isn't enough information. There's a lot of narrative. He's an oil executive. He's friends with Russia. That's not working for him. Donald Trump just saying he's a businessman who's made great deals isn't quite enough. If he talks about all in practice that he's done, how he's done deals, and he's going to be able to do great trade deals, bring jobs back to America while still having great relationships with these other countries, he needs to give a little bit more context information for people to be comfortable. And for the most part, what people are saying is, it's not that I don't like him, it's that I don't know what to think of him.
He's going to have an interesting hearing, I think, with the Senate in a few weeks here. But you're right. Not a lot of people know Rex Tillerson because he's not been a public figure. He's been at Exxon for his entire working career. So
that's right.
We'll see how that continues to play out. Also, this one, you are going to be, he always says this, you're going to be so tired of winning by the end of this thing. Here's what he said the other night.
We're going to win a lot. We're going to win so much. You're going to go to Paul Ryan. You're going to go, Mr. Speaker, please, please. We can't stand winning this much. We can't take it. And he's going to come to see me and he's going to, Mr. President, the people in Wisconsin are tired of winning so much. You're winning with health care. We're winning on the border. We're winning with ISIS because we are going to get ISIS out.
It's too much winning. Too much. This is what I find interestingly. As we've been saying, Democrats usually always an F here. How are they a D when he's talking about winning so much? What's going on there?
A little bit braggadocious is what they said, like a too much bravado. Okay, if he said it once, fine. We're going to be tired of winning. We're going to win. All of that. It's very typical Donald Trump speak, and it's part of his persona and character. So I know that's not going to change. But this wasn't the best part. People like it when he's really talking about the economy, jobs, national security, making America great again. That's when he wins. And this message is just a little bit too much for a lot of
Too much winning.
That's right. Too much winning.
All right, love it. Lee, always good to have you here. These dials are so interesting.
Thanks so much.
All right, coming up, Robert Durst shocked the world when he said this on HBO's The Jinx.
Almost every country on earth sees America as stronger and more respected today than they did 8 years ago. In other words, by so many measures, our country is stronger and more prosperous than it was when we started. It's a situation that I'm proud to leave for my successor.
Well, we've all got opinions on that topic, but you know who else has an opinion on that topic is the good Governor Mike Huckabee, who joins us right now. Governor, I have to ask you, if he says it, does it make it so?
I'm sorry, but it doesn't. I mean, I know that's what he would like for Christmas, but this time it's a lump of coal in his bag. Let me tell you something. When he said that, I was just scratching my head and saying, is he kidding? I mean, we've got the Iranians, you know, who laugh up their sleeve at what we've done in the deal with them. We've got the Russians flying fighter jets 30 feet above a destroyer out in the international waters. We have the Iranians taking sailors and making them get on their knees and put blindfolds on, and John Kerry going over and thanking them for treating them so nicely. North Koreans launching missiles. I mean, where do I stop? This has not been a great 8 years. It's been a dismal 8 years. And he can believe like he wants, and I'm sure he's thinking that, but a lot of Americans are glad this 8 years has come into a conclusion.
One of those in those 8 years is the Russian reset that, of course, Hillary Clinton was responsible for. The Russian reset seems like we're on good terms with them, apparently. And not if you listen to the president yesterday talking about pretty much putting the blame on Russia for putting fake news into our news streams, and that not breaking into servers and hacking different, the DNC and the RNC and different things like that. But floating fake news stories is one of the reasons why Hillary Clinton lost this election.
Well, let me explain. If Hillary would like to spend about $4, she can go down to Walgreens and buy a mirror. Look in it, Hillary. That's why you lost. It's not you don't even have to take $1 million poll and check with 1,000 people. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's been very disturbing, and I want to get serious here for a moment. I've been on the stage when I won, and I've been on the stage when I've lost. It's more fun to win, by the way. But let me be very clear. When you win an election, you go out and you thank the people because it's their shoulders on whom you rode to victory. But if you lose, you don't go out and blame everybody in sight. You go out and suck it up and you accept it. Right. Can you imagine an NFL quarterback after the game that the team lost saying, gee, I'm the greatest quarterback in the league and I would have won this game single-handedly had it not been for those lousy linemen in front of me? What kind of play will you expect from them the next time? I'm just stunned by this.
Yeah, well, that seems to be the message we're hearing from Hillary Clinton. She was speaking to some donors just 2 nights ago, talking about Russia and basically putting the blame on that for her losing the election. Here's what she said the other night.
Swing state voters made their decisions in the final days, breaking against me because of the FBI letter from Director Comey. And Nate Silver believes, I happen to believe this, that that letter most likely made the difference in the outcome. Vladimir Putin himself directed the covert cyber attacks against our electoral system, against our democracy, apparently because he has a personal beef against me. This is not just an attack against me and my campaign, although that may have added fuel to it. This is an attack against our country.
So as you said, Governor, it's been a tough year for Democrats. And when you don't want to look in the mirror and see what the blame that it actually might be yourself and maybe the policies you were putting forward, you point fingers at everybody else. We also heard, though, from Michelle Obama. She spoke with Oprah. I think it was yesterday or the day before, and she basically was talking about how after this election, it's what it feels like when Americans have no hope. Here's what she said.
Your husband's administration, everything, the election was all about hope. Do you think that this administration achieved that?
Yes, I do, because we feel the difference now.
Yeah.
See, now we're feeling what not having hope feels like. You know, hope is necessary. It's a necessary concept. Yeah. And Barack didn't just talk about hope because he thought it was just a nice slogan to get votes. I mean, he and I and so many believe that what else do you have if you don't have hope?
So, Governor, what is she saying there?
You know, with all due respect to the First Lady, I'm sitting in D.C. this morning, and I thought about when I came up here yesterday that I needed to take shots to make sure that I don't get infected with whatever it is that gets into people where they're completely out of touch with reality from living in this bubble. Because the fact is, if you look at what's happened since the election, the Dow's almost hitting 20,000. There are people who are going back to work, companies like Ford and Carrier who are sitting down with the president-elect. The man hasn't even taken office yet, and they're already talking about how they can bring jobs back. There is a real sense of optimism and hope about people going back to work and having control of our borders again. I'm just stunned when I hear her say that, you know, that everything has been coming up roses for 8 years, and I'm thinking they really need to get out more. Not to Hawaii, not vacation on the beach. They need to get out and talk to some coal miners and waitresses and cab drivers and bellmen at hotels. That's where they'll find out
No more
what people are really
sipping
feeling.
lattes, huh?
Yeah.
Because it
Indeed.
turns out hope is an actual thing as opposed to a phrase, and that's what makes all the difference. Governor, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Don't get infected in
Thank
D.C.,
you.
okay?
He's inoculated.
I'm leaving this morning, headed to Florida. You bet.
Good.
Good to see you, Governor. Thanks for being
Thanks.
here. All right, now to some other headlines. Accused killer Robert Durr says he was high on meth during his apparent confession on the HBO series The Jinx.
Kill them all. Of course.
This is a strange twist. The millionaire real estate heir was arrested the day after the series finale aired. He hadn't realized that his mic was still on during that admission. Durst is on trial for the murder of his friend Susan Berman, and prosecutors say he shot her to prevent her from talking to investigators who were looking into his 1982 disappearance of his wife. Such a bizarre story. And more blood on New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio's hands. This time, an orphan deer in Manhattan. This one-antlered buck swam to New York in search of a mate, but died from stress while in the city's custody waiting to be relocated. De Blasio wanted to euthanize it, but New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said no way. You may recall 2 years ago, Staten Island Chuck died days after being dropped by de Blasio on Groundhog Day. That's sad. Then there's this, Hillary Clinton's holiday party, apparently not a very merry one. One guest telling the New York Post it was, quote, like a wake with a band. The festive gathering was held at the Plaza Hotel right here in New York City to thank top donors who helped fund her failed presidential bid. Among those guests, Vogue editor Anna Wintour and Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein. You weren't invited, Pete.
No, I was not. I don't know why I didn't get it. Was also noticed it was a holiday party, not a Christmas party. Just point that out.
Rick Reichmuth is out in the midst of it this morning because it is snowing, and I see
Real snow!
heavy snow for the next hour or two. Hey, Rick.
And then rain. It's going to get up pushing 60 degrees by tomorrow.
What?
So there you go. The snow isn't going to stick around long. But there's something else going on. There was just an earthquake. Take a look at the maps. There was an earthquake just within the last hour out across areas of Papua New Guinea, and it was an 8.0 earthquake. And because of that, there is potentially a tsunami issued. My maps aren't moving, guys, here, so I'm not going to be able to show you that if we don't. There you go. That's not going to move. Papua New Guinea, but there is potentially a tsunami primarily around Indonesia and in towards areas of Papua New Guinea and some of those southern islands. Don't expect to see that moving towards the U.S. That's the good news. What we do have is a big snowstorm, cold air coming in behind this, ice right now across Washington, D.C. If you can stay off the roads at all right now this morning, you certainly should before the warm air comes in and will melt all the snow and ice. All right, guys, send back to you inside.
And even your maps are frozen.
Yeah.
So cool. All right, thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
All right, President Obama says it was the media's obsession over Hillary Clinton's emails that was partly responsible for her election loss.
You guys wrote about it every day. Every single leak. About every little juicy tidbit of political gossip.
Shame on you for reporting the news. Our next guest says the media went too easy on Clinton.
Plus 8 days left, if you can believe it, until Christmas.
Hey, welcome back. In his last press conference of 2016, President Obama spent his time scolding the media for its coverage of Hillary Clinton and WikiLeaks.
I'm finding it a little curious that everybody's suddenly acting surprised that this looked like it was disadvantaging Hillary Clinton, because you guys wrote about it every day. Every single leak. About every little juicy tidbit of political gossip. This was an obsession that dominated the news coverage. I think the coverage of her and the issues was troubling.
Well, here to react is Bree Payton, a staff writer for The Federalist. Bree, great to see you this morning.
Thanks for having me.
I'm sort of shocked and a little surprised by this, because I remember weekend after weekend here on Fox and Friends, we would put up and sort of tabulate the coverage from the mainstream media for that particular week on whether or not they had covered Hillary Clinton's email scandal. And on the nightly newscast, it was like 0 minutes, 1 minute, less than that. He's scolding the media for coverage. It didn't seem like they got very much to begin with.
You're completely right. And, you know, I think what's most disturbing about Obama's criticism is not the content of the DNC emails, right? It's not that the Democratic Party basically rigged the election for Hillary Clinton. It's not that Hillary Clinton's advisors think that Catholics are evil. He's upset by the fact that the media decided to actually cover this in the short amount of time that they covered it. And it almost kind of implies, you know, that he's kind of expecting, like, hey, guys, you know, I thought we had a deal. I thought we had kind of an arrangement.
Right.
You don't cover things bad about me or about the candidate that I endorse. In exchange, you know, I let you fawn all over me for the past 8 years and, you know, applaud every single gun control measure that I ever do. So, you know, I think that honestly, and you're right, there really isn't enough soap in all the world to clean the brown off of all of the media's noses after they spent the entire election sucking up and brown-nosing to Hillary Clinton.
How do you think the mainstream media will look at his comments yesterday about why Hillary Clinton lost this election? He made some interesting remarks about liberal elites and sipping lattes, and maybe we need to come away from our West Coast, East Coast viewpoints and get out there into the cities perhaps where we lost this election.
Yeah, I think that, so I think that's very ironic coming from Hillary Clinton, from President Obama, who is pretty much the embodiment of coastal elitism, right? And I think that going forward, we're going to probably see a lot of think pieces about media obsession with leaks. I think that they're going to carry the water for Obama just like they do every single time. So and also in the wake of the election, it really has been startling to see the media just really double down on their narrative that they forecasted so incorrectly and so wrong and so off base all throughout the election cycle. So really, I don't think that they're going to learn anything from Obama's press conference. And by learning something, I mean stop listening to him. I think that they're going to take what he says and run with it, and they're just going to double down on whatever narrative he's selling.
Well said. Very articulate at 6 in the morning, Bree. And by the way, we did learn, breaking news, and this is no joke, the president was sipping a latte while he was giving that press conference. Merry Christmas. Thanks, Bree.
Thank you.
All right, coming up here on the show, if you thought President Donald Trump would stop giving his political enemies nicknames, think again. The new name just revealed. And we're just 8 days away from Christmas. Do you still need a last-minute